Good evening and welcome to tonight's April 2024 Camp Raven Knob webinar. We are happy for all of you that are joining us here live, and those of you that are joining us via recording later on, we welcome you as well, whatever time that you may be hopping on here. We got a few updates for you tonight, nothing too crazy. If you've been with us before, this is pretty routine. If you've been first time with us this summer, there's some good information here. Of course, there's some boilerplate stuff that we're going to cover during every webinar that we have, like some program related things and required documents, things of that nature. So we've got a lot of that we're going to drop out on you for the third time now, but we'll have one more or two more opportunities after this to do it again, just to make sure we're doing what we need to be ready to come to summer camp in June and July. Tonight, we've got with us Wesley Warden, our council program assistant and business manager for the upcoming summer, Ash Stimke, our assistant camp director, and Nick Lawson, program director. We all have a few pieces in this to run over with you. Hopefully, we'll be done within the hour is our goal. It's been a long day here in North Carolina and other parts of, I guess, anywhere around the the Midwest and back this way, and I guess on the other side of Texas, whatnot, watching the eclipse this afternoon. And then we got big basketball game tonight, though nobody here in North Carolina is interested in watching any more basketball at this point. We're ready to move on to football season, but nonetheless, I know it's a busy night for a lot of folks, especially those of you that have scout meetings tonight. So we're going to try to make this quick and painless. So just to go ahead and hop on in the mix here. We're going to share our little PowerPoint that we're going to have guide us. I'm going to go ahead and drop Wesley, and I'm going to leave Ash here with me because he is my catch-up person when I maybe slip a few things. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Of course, those of you that are joining us live, feel free to go ahead and throw in the chat your troop number and where you guys are from. It helps us just kind of keep track on who we've had join us this evening. Feel free to go ahead and hit that share button if you want some other folks to hop in on this webinar, so that way they can tag along and you don't have to be the only person to gain this information. We try to make these things as exciting as we can. We hope you enjoy being with us, but having more folks makes everybody more prepared. And be sure to ask questions through that chat bar. We try to address those live. Sometimes we're not able to get to them, or maybe want to just answer it more in private. So feel free to use that chat bar to get these questions out as we go along. That way you get your answers now and don't have to wait. So continuing on, just a couple of general updates. Number one, session registration on March 12th and 14th for our two different registration dates. It went really well on our end. Of course, it's a very busy day. We get a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails trying to help everyone. I hope it went smoothly for you all. And if it didn't go very smoothly, hopefully we were able to patch things up for you on the back end. We do everything we can to try to make it as smooth as we can, even though it may not be initially smooth. We know it's a lot to undertake, but we try to do everything on our end to make it better at the end and try to find those sessions that your scouts need. There's sometimes we just can't move a session anymore, and sometimes we're able to. So I hope we were able to do what we need to make sure your scouts get the sessions they're looking forward to, the merit badge sessions and programs this summer. But don't let this stop just because those dates have passed. The opening date doesn't mean that we've had anything really close. The system does start to slow down in terms of being able to make edits and modifications. Past that point, you can send us an email or give us a call and we'll make those changes on our end. The reason for that, it just helps us better control and see those changes come through. So that way we can monitor it in case, we need to, we're planning for 12 people in this and then we end up with 16. It helps us just kind of keep tabs on things a little bit better as we move closer to summer. Again, with your crossovers or adding new scouts to your troop, feel free to bring those scouts along. If you're able to make it work logistically on your end to get them to camp, we'll make sure that they have a great time and they get the schedule they need to make camp worthwhile and make it a positive outdoor experience. So if you have any other changes that come up going forward, feel free to shoot us an email. That way we can help you. Give us a call, shoot us an email, whatever you need to do. But we're happy to help. Um, let's see here. All right, we've already answered the question about photography and the registration system. When you registered, you should have had to pay $150 per scout as that initial deposit. We are now into the stage of where we only really require 2 payments outside of your campsite deposit. 2 payments. We don't have monthly payments. You as a troop may have a different structure, but we're looking for those payments as we get closer to summer camp. Those final ones that includes all of your leader fees and the balances for merit badge sessions and each scout. So as we get closer, go ahead and knock out your fees. If you want to pay by check as we get closer to camp, feel free to just bring that with you and we'll process it when we're there. You can also mail a check to our council office. That information is scrolling on the banner below. With that, I do want to mention one thing I did not add in here was refunds. At this point, most troops, with the exception of a few, most troops still owe a balance to camp. So if you have a scout that is unable to attend or legal that's unable to attend, you've already paid, $150 deposit for that. The way we expect that to work is you just to write that refund back out of your unit account, as you still don't have, as we don't have any, like it won't attribute like a credit to your account when there's still a balance due. It'll just, when we pull that scout out, it'll just add that $150 to your final balance. So it makes it a lot easier on our end. So we're not having to write as many refund checks. If there's any refund that's due, we will process that after your week of summer camp. Normally that's about a 2.5 week process to get that refund check back to you. The reason it takes that long is it has to process on our end to us to go through and make sure that refund is correct. And then it has to process through our council office and our billing processing department. So we try not to write refunds this early at camp just because it makes things a lot smoother to do it all at one time. So hopefully that makes sense that we just pull that out. So you're collecting those funds from different folks and things of that nature, and you just still owe us money, so we're not going to write a refund check back out to you. If it makes it simpler, we will do that, but hopefully it'll make it easier for you.
I think it's worth mentioning as well that sometimes people have various little costs or fees that come up during the week of camp. Maybe someone else decides they want a photo, or maybe someone switches from one session to another, or an adult leader says, "Oh, I really want to do the CPR class," or whatever it is. So little things come up where even if you've paid off your balance before camp, occasionally you may end up owing an extra $20 or $30 or something, just depending on what comes up during the week at camp. So that's why we kind of wait until you're about to check out to kind of finally settle everything.
Absolutely. So keep making those edits, adding kids in. If you need to decrease your spots, add spots to it, just let us know. We'll be happy to take care of it from there. All right. Always want to mention this, especially on the front end here, our provisional option. If you have scouts that are unable to attend with your troop, just the date didn't work for them, or maybe they want to come a second time or a third time, fourth time, fifth time, whatever it may be. We have multiple options for those scouts that maybe want to come to camp, even though your troop is coming a different week, or they want to come back multiple times. So be sure to check this out and spread that word with your scouts. I think a lot of scouts don't know that they have the opportunity to come back multiple times. It's a great way to, rack up on merit badges during the summer and also just spend a lot more time at camp. That's the way that I grew up attending Raven Knob, was through the Raven Repeat program, going multiple times, and always had a great time while doing it. So be sure to share this opportunity with your troop and with families, so that way your scouts are getting an opportunity to come to camp. Right now, we've had almost 65 folks that have signed up this early in advance to be provisional scout or Raven Repeat or even a day camper. So explore your options there. I will mention one thing that I've worked with a few families on this spring is with the day camper option. We've got a lot of folks that maybe want to spend time in the Blue Ridge Mountains or in beautiful Mount Airy. And so we have a couple of scouts who families have just taken a vacation, a part of that, where their scout comes to camp for the day and they're able to go off site and stay with their family up in a cabin or whatnot. So unique opportunity to work with. I think it'd be pretty awesome. So be sure to share this with your folks and get that opportunity out in front of them. So at this point, I'm going to pass this over to Nick real quick, just to go over these couple of program reminders. More than anything, we've said it before, but we'll say it again. So Nick, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, cool deal. Thank you, Hunter. You can go ahead and go to the next slide.
Oh, yeah. We need to announce what's on the left as well.
What's on the left?
this thing right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start off with that. This year is our design for this year's resident summer camp. Design will be on all the t-shirts that you'll get as you stay with us for the week. So just some reminders here for scouts that are signed up for the ATV training course or the ATV session. We ask that you have that e-course or certificate for the ATV Safety Institute and a hold harmless agreement signed by your parent and guardian. I believe, Hunter, that these QR codes here should take them right to that.
It does. It does. Yes. It'll take them to the landing pages for those things. Yep.
Sweet. And if for some reason that doesn't work for you, you can check it out at ravenob.com/ATVCRK, or you can sit through the program tab on the main website. Over to the merit badge prerequisites. The 2024 merit badge prerequisite list is up to date online, and you can find that at ravenob.com/sessions list, or use that little QR code below.
Excellent. Excellent. Awesome. I will mention that ATV training, the e-course that you have to do, you should not have to pay any fee or anything associated with that. It may really look like that when you get to the landing page of where it takes you, but you do not need to pay anything. You're just getting the certificate. So it may try to charge you $20. You're at the wrong place if it tries to do that to you. And if you can't figure it out, just give us a holler and we'll take care of it and make sure you get to the right place. All right. All right. And then those merit badge prerequisites, be sure to keep an eye on those and make sure that your scouts are doing what they can prior to camp. And it's a good time just to mention about how our prerequisites at camp work. So if you have a scout or your scouts complete their prerequisites before they get to camp, what you're going to want to do with that, you've got two options. We have one that we prefer and one that will work as well. What we prefer is that you bring a list of those prerequisites by the administration building. From there, we will go into the system and add those to those particular sessions. So that way your scouts get credit for it. You can also send a note with your scout to their in particular session, they give to the instructor. That way they can mark it off on their permanent roster there. But we prefer it come by the administration building. It just makes it a little bit easier to take care of. You can also, once you get to camp, it's a little bit trickier to keep up with prior to, but once you get to camp, you can shoot us an email. If you've got them on a spreadsheet or some other document, you can just shoot that to us via email and we'll get them plugged in throughout the week. So, all right, Nick, I appreciate that. All right. Moving on to the next thing here. We are going to hop back over to Ash, talk about our documents that we need to bring to camp, all that good stuff.
There we go. Absolutely. So there's a few different things you'll need to bring. We'll start with some of the medical things. Some of this you probably know already because I think we've mentioned it on previous webinars. But as you can see here, there are sort of two primary medical documents that we require from everyone. One of which is the BSA medical form, parts A, B, and C. That part C does require an examination by a medical professional. And I'll say as well, these forms, we get questions about this sometimes. Those forms are valid until the end of the month, 1 year after the medical evaluator's signature. So if they signed on June 17th of 2023, then you're good to go through the end of June in 2024. If they signed on July 1st of last year, you're good to go until July 31st of this year. What won't work is if they signed in May of last year, because that's only good until May of this year. So just make sure that that form is valid for all days that your unit will be at camp. Next is the outdoor parental release form. This is only required for the youth, and you can find this form on the forms and guides page with all of our other forms for camp. That page can be accessed at ravenob.com/LG forms or by going to this little fun dinosaur QR code here that takes you directly to that page. That's a separate form from the medical form, but we had asked you to kind of attach it to those medical forms. In other words, it's best to have each scout's parental release form attached to their medical form, not one big stack of medicals and one big stack of parental release forms. That's going to create extra paperwork for us to have to kind of collate all those things together. But making sure that that is signed by the parents and also attached to those scouts forms. So those are the primary two medical things. We also have a thing called a supplemental medical form. That's not as important, but that's really for any scouts or leaders that have any extenuating circumstances requiring specialized medications or unique medical situations that might be helpful for our medical staff to be aware of. That's not a required form, but it's there for those extra situations that may require some specific care. So that's probably all on this slide.
One thing I'm going to go ahead and mention while we're here is that pre-check opportunity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we do have a way to try to make check-in day a little bit smoother when it comes to the medical end of things. We still have to go through a recheck process, no matter if you turn your medical forms in early or turn them in the day of. There's still going to be a medical recheck process. It just takes a little bit less time when you send these medical forms in early. And what that does, it gives our Health Lodge the opportunity to review those, any sort of really important allergies, medications, things of that nature. They can go ahead and document, so that way they don't have to go through it with each scout to the level of a brand new document that they haven't seen before. They can go ahead and pre-make those buddy tags, so your troop guide doesn't have to fill those out during this check-in process. So it speeds things up just a little bit. And the way this works is if you will mail us those medical forms ahead of time, so at least 1 week prior is what we ask for. If you can get them out earlier than that, by all means, please do so. So if you're a larger troop, anything over, 50 kids in a troop, 100 kids, definitely try to go ahead and get this stuff done just to speed up the process a little bit. And you can send those either USPS, UPS, FedEx. We do not ask for these to be sent electronically per HIPAA laws there and policies. So please send those via UPS, USPS, or FedEx.
And it would probably be good to send copies, not the originals. You
Exactly.
should hold on to those.
Please send a copy just in case something might go missing. It hasn't happened very often. We have had to go to FedEx once or twice to go hunt something down, but we've always been able to collect them. But yeah, please send a copy. And it's always a good rule of thumb to, you're going to give the Health Lodge a copy of your medical forms, but always have one in your campsite too, just in case you need something rather quickly there. You don't have to go to the Health Lodge and get it. So
absolutely.
All right.
So that's kind of our medical documentation. We can kind of move on from there and look at this page here that talks about some of the other forms. Once again, as it says there in the last bullet point, all these are found at ravennob.com/LG forms, which you can get to from that QR code over there as well. But there's two other primary forms I want to mention. One has to do with the BSA swim test or swim checks. Many troops choose to do these prior to coming to camp because that helps save some time and makes it so that they don't have to go swimming on the first day of check-in. And if you want to do that, we will honor any swim check form that is authorized by one of the people mentioned there, and that was completed within about 6 months or so of coming to camp. These are annual evaluations. Swim checks have to be completed each year. That's sort of a BSA-wide policy. So just because a scout completed swimming merit badge last year or did life-saving merit badge last year does not mean that they're forever a swimmer. I myself have taught lifeguarding for almost 10 years, and I do a swim check every single year, just like everyone else. So that does need to be done annually. If you do choose to do swim tests as a unit before coming to camp, either at a lake or at a pool or something like that, we've got a form for that, this swim check form. There's some information on there where you kind of write down each scout's name, their swimming ability, either swimmer, beginner, or non-swimmer, and then that information gets certified by an adult an administrator who has training in safe swim defense, aquatic supervision, or as a BSA lifeguard. Those are sort of the BSA trainings that teach people what the swim test is and what we're looking for. One question we often get is, well, can a Red Cross lifeguard do the swim tests? And what I'll say about that is you should absolutely have a lifeguard present if you're at a community pool or something like that and kind of doing all of this. It's definitely a good idea to have supervision there while these swim tests are going on. But the procedure for doing swim tests is sort of a one-on-one thing. This is what all of that documentation will tell you, that there's one test administrator giving the test to one person at a time. And while it's okay to have lifeguards watching that, it really should be someone who knows about the BSA swim test specifically administering that, or at least signing off on it. Red Cross lifeguards despite being one myself, your average Red Cross lifeguard doesn't know what the BSA swim test is. They don't know what these strokes are that we're looking for. They don't know what the specific requirements are. And so you definitely need to have someone with BSA credentials kind of supervising the whole thing and making sure that the tests are being done in the way that the BSA swim test is supposed to work, regardless of who's actually watching the water as far as supervision and lifeguards go. If you've got any questions about that, you're welcome to email us. And of course, you can read some of the documentation on our website. One more thing on that swim test form, if you do choose to do that, you can bring a paper copy. Once again, a copy, I wouldn't necessarily give away the original, but you can bring a paper copy to the aquatic staff during check-in on the check-in day, and they'll be able to update your Scouts Buddy tags from there. Alternatively, you can submit it in advance online. We've got a page on our website under, I believe it's just under like the registration menu, but you can get there and there's a place where you can actually upload a copy of the form, like a PDF or whatever, and we'll get that electronically. We'll print it, and our aquatic staff will have a copy of it waiting for them when you arrive. An additional thing on that is our special diet form. This is another form that we have for people to use. This is for any scouts or leaders that have food allergies or dietary restrictions. Typically, you only need one of these forms per troop. You don't need to send in a separate one for each person or anything. But this just helps us make sure that our kitchen staff is prepared for whatever dietary restrictions or food allergies might exist in your troop. We're pretty good at catering to lots of different common needs there, whether it's vegetarian or gluten-free, or allergies to eggs or fish or whatever it might be. So definitely fill that form out and get it to us prior to coming to camp. And really, we ask for it by June 1st, regardless of which week you're coming. That way, as our dining hall staff is planning on ordering the food, we'll know about that. It's not particularly useful to us if you arrive to camp on Sunday and then ask for some sort of unique dietary restriction, and we haven't ordered the food for that because we don't know about it. So by getting us that form before June 1st, we'll be better prepared to serve you whenever you arrive. If you've got specific questions about what we can do in our kitchen, or kind of what might need to be done there, feel free to reach out and email us, and we'll kind of work with you on that. Occasionally, if there's a particularly unique situation, people sometimes bring some supplemental foods of their own. But definitely just reach out to us and we'll work with you to make something work out there. That's about it, I think, on the special diet form. Hunter, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, just a few little button ups here. And I'll reiterate this, our kitchen's going to prepare for the things that we know about. And oftentimes when we have folks that don't submit stuff, sometimes the people that were prepared, they go through the line, they say they need a vegetarian meal. Well, we've only prepped so many vegetarian meals, or we've only prepped so many gluten-free meals, whatever it may be. And so especially those first few days, as our dining hall staff learns that number is increased based off of what we knew ahead of time, it definitely creates a problem, and it creates a bad appearance on the camp because it doesn't look like we're prepared, but there was other folks that didn't turn their stuff in. And so we're going to do everything we can to make it right in the moment. But please know that we've got to be prepared on your own, so that way that everybody gets a fair shot at this. And then our dining hall staff can prepare going through the week. We'll catch up, but those first few days, when we start on Sunday, we've got the food to get through essentially like Tuesday morning. And so we have a truck come in on Monday afternoon that's then going to get us through Wednesday. So we have 3 food trucks a week. So we got to prepare for those things. And really, we can't make changes to a truck that comes on Monday afternoon. It'll have to come in on Wednesday's truck. So just help us out with that the best you can. Another thing I'm going to mention with swim checks, it's been a conversation that we've actually had somewhat recently, is doing how important it is and how helpful it can be doing your swim checks ahead of time. I know that some folks don't have the resources or the capability to do them ahead of time, but here's a couple of reasons why we love to see them ahead of time. Number one, it makes check-in day a lot smoother for you all. It makes it a lot faster. All you have to do is stop by the aquatics area and get your aquatics area briefing. And then number two, in the event that on Sunday we might have a pop-up thunderstorm. When we have thunderstorms or thunder, we're not getting in the water for at least 30 minutes. And so there's been times where we're not able to do swim checks the whole day. And so those scouts that come with those swim checks ahead of time, they don't have to worry about that on Monday of their first aquatic session. Okay, because every aquatic session, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ash, every aquatic session now requires for them to be a BSA swimmer. Is that correct?
That's the case for every merit badge for sure.
Yep.
For the open free swimming times, anyone can come to those.
That's right.
One thing I will mention as well is that we do get that question sometimes about what happens if it thunders on the first day. We will handle that. Typically, we'll get that done at the beginnings of their sessions the next day, but that cuts into program time and things like that. So we definitely want to see everyone have done their swim tests before Monday morning, because Monday morning is not a good time to do a swim test. We only do that when we absolutely have to. One other thing I'll mention here as well is that anyone who wants to go swimming does need to complete a swim test if they're in one of those merit badges. If it's at the open swim times, we have those various areas for all swimming abilities. So you don't have to have a swim test to go in the lake during free swim time. We have a shallow end for that, as is standard at most BSA facilities. But sometimes we get adults that don't necessarily want to do their swim test on the first day. That's fine. Adults can just come by later in the week if they want to, or if they're not planning to get in the water, maybe they don't have to at all. But that saving you time on check-in day is really a big thing. Not having to throw on a swimsuit as soon as you get to camp and go for a swim. I guess sometimes it might be hot and it might feel nice, but most of the time people find the check-in process a lot easier if they've already done that in advance.
Absolutely. And I'll just mention the other piece of it is the stress that can come with that day, for both adult leaders and kids. You know, they're having to complete their swim check with somebody they don't know in a new place, and sometimes that's nerve-wracking in the initial. So just keep that in mind as well. So, all right, I think we've covered that pretty well. All right, we're moving on to the first day at camp and the check-in process. This is just a really quick overview of what this is going to look like when you get to camp. I think it's probably the most important day of the week is, getting your boundaries and understanding, where things are and how it works and all that good stuff. So we're going to hop into it real quick. First and foremost, in May, it's on Tuesday, May 14th, 10 a.m., we're going to send out an email for you to sign up for an arrival time. And I'll explain a little bit more about this for those folks that may be coming in early or on a phone and whatnot. But those of you that are driving to camp, to try to manage the flow that comes into camp and manage the check-in day, we have these arrival times that you can sign up for. Those will start at 1 p.m. and they will end at 4 p.m. on the availability on there. So there'll be multiple options, or there'll be multiple in 30-minute increments of arrival. So the time that you sign up for is the time we expect you to show up at the front gate. All right. It's not the time we expect you to be in the campsite or whatever. It's the time we expect you to be in the front gate. And again, this just helps manage the flow. If you're arriving by plane, train, or, you've got a Saturday arrival, for those that are coming from long distances, whatever it may be, we will start you at 1 o'clock or when we get you there. So you don't really need to worry about signing up for an arrival time if you're doing those things. But everyone else that's arriving, pretty standardly on Sunday, will need to sign up for one of these times just to help manage our flow. And we'll send you email reminders about that times coming out. And if something crazy happens and you've got to be out of the church parking lot by a certain time, I'm familiar with that ordeal. Whatever you need to do, we're happy to help you, but this just helps manage our flow on sign-in day. So you'll get a link next few weeks, a little over a month, that will allow you to go ahead and sign up for that time to arrive on Sunday. When you arrive at camp, you'll be greeted by some folks at the front gate that'll make sure you have directions to get to your campsite. We do ask that everybody from your troop try to arrive at the same time. I know a lot of folks have that box checked by arriving by a tour bus or bus, van, whatever it may be, but we try to ask that everybody arrive at the same time, as minimal cars as possible, because that just helps with the flow of traffic. So as minimal cars as we can, and you'll be met at the front gate by a few folks that'll give you directions to your campsite. When you are done at that point, our folks at the front gate will radio down to our troop guide area, and they will send your troop guide onto the campsite where they will meet you. They may not beat you there. You may have to hang out for just a second as they walk in that direction, but they will meet you there, and we will go ahead and start the check-in process and the camp tour process. One thing to keep in mind, and we get this issue a lot, is that we'll have a lot of troops that show up and they want to go ahead and figure out who's in what tent and get my sleeping bag laid out, things like that. We are not looking for you to do that at that time. The longer we spend in the campsite, the longer day it's going to be to get everybody checked in properly. So when you get to camp, we're looking for you to, grab your day pack, your swim trucks, Class A, whatever you need to do your check-in process, and go ahead and hit the trail with your troop guide to get that done. So once we start that process on our camp tour, as we call it, there'll be a couple of stops that you'll make first. First thing you're going to do is you're going to go through your administration check. These are located throughout camp along with your health checks. If you haven't been with us since, let's say, 2020, I guess it was, if you haven't been with us since 2020, you may remember everybody going to the administration building and then going to the dining hall, or not to the dining hall, to the program center. But now we do this in a regional format to try to alleviate some of the traffic buildup. We still get a little bit, some wait times. Don't think it's just going to be super smooth. It does get backed up a little bit here and there, but we try to make it as smooth as we can. And a lot of that comes with, getting out of the campsite and arriving on time, things of that nature. But we'll go through an administration check. Essentially, that's where whoever's handling your registration, whether it's a scoutmaster or summer camp coordinator, they'll check in with a member of the administration team. You'll get your schedules, make sure your balance is paid up. You'll get, shower keys, your scoutmaster radio, things of this nature from that individual. And as soon as that's done, that only takes just a few seconds, really, in the grand scheme of things. Then we're going to move over to doing our medical recheck. And again, I mentioned that before. It's a short process for those of you that have send in your health forms ahead of time, but you're going to meet with a member of the Health Lodge team no matter what. And during that time, they're going to go through your health form to make sure there's not anything there that is too crazy. If it is, they, make note of it. So that way we're aware of allergies, special conditions, things of that nature. And your troop guide will then fill out your buddy tag to go to the aquatics area. Once you're done with that process, your troop guide will start doing part of the camp tour and stop by two or three other places on the way. One of those will be stopping by the dining hall, where you'll get your instructions on how the dining hall operates, the waiter system, where your seats are in the dining hall. So that way, starting Sunday night and Monday morning, things are rather smooth on that end, and you're prepared to take care of the tables that you have. And then you'll have an opportunity to stop by the aquatics area. Every area will stop by there, no matter if you're doing swim checks or not. And you will get a briefing on the aquatics area, essentially rules and regulations of getting in the water at camp, what you need, some updates on free swim, things of that nature. It just goes over kind of the safety of being in water at summer camp. And if you're going to do swim checks, after that briefing's over, your troop guide will take you down and you will start the swim check process. That can take some time to get that done, but just be prepared that if you need to do your swim checks, that you have your swim trucks packed in your backpack or already on. We do have a changing area at the aquatics area to be able to change into, but that you're prepared to go ahead and get in the water. If your troop is signed up for a troop photo, that will be a part of this process. So I know a lot of folks, they want everybody looking good in their Class A uniform. So typically our rule of thumb is we stop by the photos before we get to aquatics. That way we get that piece done. We don't have folks with wet hair, dripping all over your Class A, whatever it may be. So you get that photo, then we'll go to aquatics. So if you're doing the troop photo and you want everybody looking good in their Class A, make sure that you got that swim truck packed and your day pack ready to roll. And then past that, it's really just your troop guide showing you where some certain program areas are. That way everybody can get a good idea of where their sessions will be held the next morning, where the OA arena is and where Raven Scouts is, the trading post, things of that nature. We don't really walk everybody to, as far out to the shooting ranges to show them exactly where they are, just so that we limit the day on how much walking you do, but we'll get a pretty good idea. So it's a great time to ask a lot of questions to your troop guide. Sometimes they may not be able to answer them all. You got to understand that some of our staff members is first time working, having a job, and their first time doing a troop guide, especially if you're coming week one, maybe their first time doing it. So they may not be able to answer that question, They're trained to write that down, hopefully, and ask somebody else and get back to you. But your troop guide, our expectations of our troop guide are to be a liaison to you for the entire week, that they sit with you during some meals, check in on you, make sure that you're having a good time throughout the entire week, not just the check-in day. So that's kind of a short glance at that, short, long glance at that check-in process. Ash, is there anything I need to add in there, or does that cover it pretty well?
I think that covers it pretty well.
Cool. Excellent. All righty. Moving on to the next thing, and we are getting close to being done here, folks. So just some other information. We'll add Wesley on the screen here for him to talk about this other stuff we have listed.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, as we're getting closer to camp, we get a lot of questions about, is what do I need to tell parents to prepare their kids for camp? Especially, if you live out in that sort of like Florida or, New Jersey, Texas, any of those states, sending their kids to Mount Airy, North Carolina might be a little worrisome for them. And so what we have done is we've created a parent's guide right here. And Hunter, do you have a copy of that up right beside you? We can just kind of give them like a brief.
Yeah, I'll have it up while you start talking.
So this is information that is both helpful for new scouts or new troops to Raven Knob. So if this is your first time coming, yep, here it is right here. This is your first time coming to Raven Knob, or if it's your first time as a scout attending a summer camp, specifically Raven Knob, then this is a great guide. It's going to have a lot of information. Packing list is a big thing. We always get asked, what should we send our kids with? Trading post as well, because another common question we get is, how much money do I need to send with my kid? For our trading post, and how do I send them mail? Can I come visit them? Just things like that. And more importantly, it has our contact information as well, just in case you have any questions that you don't see answered in here. You can feel free to just give us a call and ask, or send us an email. As you see here, they got a dress code, more information about the medical forms, medications as well. We'll probably talk about that in a later webinar, but kind of explains our process on medication, things like that. We'll go ahead and talk about the trading post kind of while you're here. We always get asked, how much money should I send with my scout for camp? Minimum, we recommend $80. That just allows them to get snacks, maybe a t-shirt or something in the trading post, things like that. And also a good idea that we found that helps is getting those kind of like preloadable debit cards. I think like Visa makes one, MasterCard maybe, something like that. And the reason why we recommend those is because you can actually check their balance like on your phone, or you can call and check it, and you can add money to it. If they spend all of their money on day one, you can go back and add more money later if you need to. So that's sort of what we recommend. And then, send them a mail. If you want to send them a letter, how are you doing? How is swimming merit badge? How was rifle merit badge? Whatever that may be. So this is going to have a lot of really good information, and please share this with your parents in your unit. And it'll answer a lot of their questions that they may have about camp and about sending their kid, especially if it's a far away from where you live. So, and you can find that by that QR code, but also just on our Leaders Guides and Form page, where you're finding most of the forms Ash was talking about earlier. All right. And then also, we are currently accepting applications for our CSD program. That CSD does stand for Camp Staff Development, not maybe any of the more negative acronyms you hear about it sometimes, but it is Camp Staff Development. Scouts need to be 14, and essentially what this is they're getting to experience camp staff at a 2-week for a 2-week period. Typically that is weeks 1 and 2, weeks 3 and 4, or weeks 5 and 6. If we need to do something different, we can, but that is typically what your standard CSD program is. And again, they get to basically exist as a staff member would. They get to assist with sessions. We're not going to throw them teaching. You're not going to get a 14-year-old teaching swimming merit badge by themselves. But they get to, help out in sessions. They help out at twilight activities. They get to live in staff quarters. They get to, work the dining hall, things like that. And it allows them to kind of get a taste of what camp staff is, especially because they will be able to work full-time staff the next year. So we always recommend camp staff development. A lot of people go through it. And you can apply by going to that link right there, or also on the QR code. And like I said, we would love to have them as a CSD.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So that kind of wraps things up, but I do have a few questions I want to answer here. This one right here. Talk a little bit about visitor night to explain this. So we do offer a visitor night at camp. So Wednesday evenings is our Wednesday night campfire, which is also, family night, however you may have heard it in the past, where folks, parents can come in and visit their scout. I know some troops like it, some troops hate it, but it's something that we do offer. But we have folks come in. We'll explain a little bit more about that in terms of, Wednesday night meals and things of that nature in a later webinar. It's not important today. We'll discuss that in May. But yes, that is our part where we do our OA call out ceremony as well. So if you have scouts that have been inducted or are been elected to join the Order of the Arrow, that will be the time that they'll be part of a public call out ceremony. And the way that process works is that we need a letter from your lodge advisor or scout executive of your council sent you can send it to us, and we'll have the details as far as where you can send that to our lodge personnel here. But we're looking for a letter that says these folks have been elected to, be called out in the OA. So we have to have that permission from your council and lodge to be able to do that prior to. But Wednesday night's a great time. We start letting our guests come in at 5:30 to camp, and we'll have people at the front gate to guide them where they need to go. And they're welcome to spend the evening with us. Go hang out in the campsite, go to the campfire that night, hang out in the trading post, buy a couple things after the campfire. But we do expect those folks to leave after campfire is over as the night ends. So we do expect everybody to leave at that point in time. Just to explain this while I'm talking about it really quick, the OA, Order of the Arrow, every council for the most part has a OA lodge. If you're unfamiliar with that, you can reach out to us and we'd be happy to try to find a contact for you in your council. Otherwise, you can just call your local council to get that information on about doing an OA election. I think it's a great opportunity for scouts to continue scouting, not on the weekly basis, but also on the weekends, and get to meet folks from within their council and state and country and everything else that it opens doors for. And then I want to answer this last question about golf carts or people with mobility issues that are coming to camp. We try to make camp accessible for everybody. We know that we are in the mountains of North Carolina, so we are not a flat camp by any means. So we know that there are folks that have severe mobility issues that may not be able to get around. We do have the opportunity for you guys to utilize golf carts or UTVs during that time. We do have the option for people to use a personal vehicle. We just try to limit that just because of the space that vehicles do take up throughout camp. We have a driving times that we enacted last summer to try to reduce the amount of traffic through camp. But if you do plan on bringing a golf cart or UTV, please reach out to us so that way we can get the accurate training and information to you that you have to have. If you would like a recommendation as far as who you can rent a golf cart or UTV from in our local area, please reach out and we will get you that contact information. If you're going to look at this later or write it down really quick, Cook, Cooke, Rentals in Mount Airy. Also, the Mount Airy Golf Cart Outlet are two of the people that we work with the most as far as golf carts, if you were need to rent one to help with those mobility issues. We do not like for golf carts to be scout taxis, and if they do become scout taxis, we will have a conversation with you about that, because we are looking for golf carts to be used for those folks who need it to be able to be at camp with us. We understand that there are some folks that have to be at camp. You've only got certain leaders that can come and need to use it. So just reach out to us and we can get all the accurate information to you. Our folks just replied back to that message talking about the ROVA training that must be completed ahead of time. I'm pretty sure that all that information is on the website, and we will share that with you all in the coming weeks. Yep, see, there you go. For more information, you can visit ravennob.com/driving, and that will be where that information is. However, if you do bring a UTV, that requires a little bit more training and a conversation with our camp ranger. So a little bit more hoops to jump through. All right. The last thing I will mention, Wesley sent me a reminder here. When it comes to registration, some of you may have gone through and just inputted a random t-shirt size for your scout to get them registered on session registration day. Please, 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 in the next few weeks, go back through and edit that. Please edit that information, because it's not too much further along. I'm going to start sending those numbers to my t-shirt provider. Though they may not start printing them, they're going to go ahead and get what they need in-house. So when we're printing about 5,500 t-shirts that have this one particular t-shirt of the summer, we really need to try to get those numbers as accurate as we can, so we don't have to make unnecessary orders throughout the summer to fix that. If you went through and added your entire troop of mediums, and we know not everybody's a medium, that can really skew our numbers very poorly. So if you can help us with that, that would be great, of getting back in there. So let's see here. That's a great question about pulling those t-shirt sizes, and I do not know the answer right off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I don't feel like there is, and I think we've passed that along for them to make it so you can pull that. Or can you pull a spreadsheet? Is it in a spreadsheet? I will double check that and let everybody know how they can double check that information.
I know we can pull them through the unit roster. I'm not sure if they can pull
they can. So I know yeah. So let me research that and find out. That's a great question. I appreciate you asking. All right. Seeing no more questions come in, we're going to call it a night at 6:47 p.m. Maybe a little bit later on your end at this point, but we're going to call it a night. I appreciate everybody being here. We are getting really pumped for summer camp. Keep looking at that countdown on the website, and it keeps scaring me every day, but that's just because we're having so much fun getting ready for things. This past weekend, we just held our first large event at camp. We had 950 people join us for our Spring into Scouting event, Cub Scout Spring into Scouting, where we stocked our lake full of trout. And so kids were catching trout left and right. It was a little chilly, but we braced the cold and made ice cream in a bag. So hopefully nobody got frostbite doing that. But we had a great time. We're hosting our section OA conclave in 2 weeks. So we're very excited about the folks around North Carolina that'll be joining us for that. And then we'll host National Camp School in May, Cub Scout Resident Camp, and then we will see you guys very soon after that. So we're very pumped about everything. I will also mention we're getting to that time of year where we're getting busier at camp with different events. We're getting busier here at the office with folks calling and emailing us. So we try to get back to everybody in a day. The past week's been a little hectic, so we got a little bit backed up over the past couple of days, but hopefully we were able to bounce back today, getting in touch with everybody. I know my voicemail was to its limits after the weekend, so we're trying to knock everything down and get back to everybody the best we can. So if you need anything else, reach out. Happy to help any way we can, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next webinar on May 6th. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure to do that, so that way you get automatic notifications to your email on your phone about when our next webinars are, in case you forget. Thank you for being here, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you.